This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Hi, everyone. This is Len Sierra for the high-risk advanced recurrent prostate cancer support video chat. Today is Tuesday, June 28th. And we're going to start with Jim and Barbara Squillicote in Connecticut.
Yes.
So Jim and Barbara, what I'm going to do is go through a list of questions, and just to keep things in chronological order, don't jump the gun, just answer the questions as they come up, okay?
Sure.
All right, so let's start with Jim. How old are
75.
you? Okay, and I think you said you live in Hartford, was it?
Just south of Hartford, Newington, Connecticut.
Okay. And if I recall correctly, you heard about AnCan'rs. Actually, you did not so much AnCan'rs, but you heard first, you saw my name connected with.
Right. Mary Porter had sent me the information, and I had gone online, and your name came up with the support group.
Okay.
Mary Porter's from the Hartford Healthcare group.
Oh, nice to know that we're on their radar.
Yeah.
Jim, when were you first diagnosed?
October of 2021. That's when I had my biopsy.
Okay, and do you recall what your Gleason score was and what your PSA level was at the time of diagnosis?
My PSA level was 5.9, and my Gleason was 7.
Okay, was that a 3+4?
3+4, correct.
And which urologist did you see and at which institution?
Well, it was Dr. D'Amato from the Hartford Healthcare group.
But he has since left, and we're under Dr. Wagner, Joseph Wagner.
Okay. Also with Hartford Healthcare?
That's
Yes.
correct.
All right, and so he told you you had Gleason 7, and what did he recommend? What kind of treatment?
Well, initially I was going to have surgery, and I was scheduled for surgery February 11th with Dr. Wagner. But after having a PET scan, he called me up and said, Jim, look, the cancer is spreading out of the prostate. I don't recommend surgery for you. He recommended radiation. So I said to him, look, you're the boss. Whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to do. So I chose to take the radiation treatments. I started my radiation treatments. First of all, I started with the initial shots.
The hormone
The
therapy.
hormone therapy.
Right.
In January.
And was that Lupron?
That's correct.
Well, the first one was Firmagon.
Firmagon.
And then 2 months after he had that, he had the first Lupron, and he'll be on that for the next 2 years.
Okay, and how did the doctor know that your cancer had spread? What type of scans did they run on you?
It was a PET scan. Was it PM?
Yeah.
PSMA PET scan?
PET scan.
Oh, good for them.
Well, we went to Yale.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Hartford Healthcare was only going to do an MRI, and I said to Jim, I said, we need to get a second opinion. And so we went to Yale, and they didn't fool around. They just did the PET scan right away.
Terrific.
An amazing doctor at Yale. I can't say enough about him. It was just amazing, man.
And who is that?
Dr.
Sprinkle.
Sprinkle, Dr. Sprinkle.
Oh, yeah.
Preston Sprinkle.
But he's a urologist, isn't he?
Yes,
He is. And he does surgery.
Yeah, so he told you to go see a radiation oncologist, and was that at Yale also?
Well, we had a choice. The thing was that for us to go to Yale, it would have been a long drive every morning. So he recommended Harvard Healthcare.
Well, he didn't recommend
Well,
it.
we decided.
We did see a radiation oncologist at Yale, but we also saw one at Harvard Healthcare because Jim decided that he really didn't want to go to Yale to get the treatment because that was a 45 to an hour drive every day for 9 weeks, Monday through Friday.
But you did have a consult with a radiation oncologist at Yale?
We did.
And what type of radiation did he recommend?
I had the trilogy. It's 44 treatments, not every day for 9 weeks. Trilogy, right?
Okay.
And I started. I'm sorry.
Sounds like IMRT. Did he mention that acronym?
Was it MR?
IMRT. Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes,
that's correct.
Okay. And, okay, so let's back up a little bit. You said you had the PSMA PET scan, and it was beyond the prostate, but exactly where?
Well, it was in my lymph nodes.
Pelvic lymph nodes?
Yes, pelvic lymph nodes.
Okay.
And it was spreading down the, what do you call it? The seminal valley?
Yeah, the seminal.
Seminal vesicles?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So I assume you've started the radiation?
Yeah, he's finished that.
I just finished.
Oh, great.
I started radiation 4/11, and I finished up on June 10th.
Okay. How are you feeling? How'd you tolerate the radiation?
To be very honest, I had no problem really. Little tired, little fatigue at night, but for the most part, plus, I mean, of course, I'm getting hot flashes.
But that's from the
shots.
from the hormone therapy shots.
Right.
I mean, 1 minute I'm burning up, next minute I'm freezing, so.
Yeah.
Like it goes with the territory. Nice. I see that, Jeff. Does that work? Jeff is showing me his amber wave.
Yeah, these really work. I had a problem a couple of weeks ago. I had 24 flashes in one day. None of them were real hot. This stopped every one of them, but it really works. But the flashes I got were my head would get really hot. I'd start sweating. The sweat would pour down over my eyes. If you're having that kind of hot flash, at least 6 or 7 times a day. But even when you're milder, this thing can train your body to make them milder.
Interesting.
Yeah, Rick is reminding me that if you reference AnCan'rs, you get a discount on that.
Amber
Wave 2.
Amber.
Wave
Amber
2.
Right. Wave 2.
You have to buy that. You have to buy that online.
Yeah, the discount, I just put the discount code in. Sorry, I put it into the organizers. Let me put it. The discount code is AnCan'rs50, and you get $50 off.
And you can also return it within 30 days for a full refund.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
AnCan 50.
Okay.
And by the way, can you see the chat box, Jim?
Yeah, I saw that on the screen.
Okay, good.
I also wanted to mention I have one as well, and my first one failed for some reason, and they went ahead and replaced it at no charge.
Oh, great. Thanks, James.
All right, Jim, I also want to ask you, the radiation you had, I'm guessing it was to the prostate and the whole pelvic region. Is that right?
Yes, initially what they did was they were treating the whole region. And in the last 2 weeks, they just pinpointed certain areas, what they call hot spots, I guess, for the last 2 weeks. So now, starting July 10th, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. You asked the questions, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, you go ahead.
Starting July 10th, I have to start taking an oral cancer pill. I have to take 1,000 milligrams a day along with prednisone.
Yeah.
Abiraterone, Zytiga, is that what you're talking about?
Yes. And when they gave me the price, I almost, I couldn't believe the price. It's going to cost us out of pocket, according to the nurse, $1,600 a month.
You don't have Medicare drug coverage.
We do.
There's a generic. I pay $10 a month for 30 pills.
Really?
Yeah. Jeff, you're on Kaiser. You're on Kaiser, man. You know.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody's different.
Their retail price is $268 because it's
but everybody's different. Let's first of all, there's several ways to go here, and let's talk to some of the other guys who are using Schedule D. Who is getting Zytiga right now through Schedule D through their drug plan? Mike Yancey.
Hey,
Anybody
Rick,
else?
Rick, it's Mike Yancey. And I checked my drug plan. It was going to be $562 a month out of pocket. I ended up with a company called QuickRx out of New York, and I'm getting it for $236 a month.
Okay, so could you put that reference in there, QuickRx, for the squillocotes?
Thank you.
The second thing is is there anybody else other than?
Well, I was using it, and I found that if you go on Medicare.gov and you put in all your information, I found it for very inexpensive for 1 year and pretty good on Medicare with Part D, the prescription drug program. Number one. Number two, the Medicare has there's $5,000 of the donut hole. You really kind of have to study it and do some research, and usually you can find Zytiga for less money than that. Especially if you're going to be doing it for a couple of years.
Right, and as Jeff,
I'm going to be on it for 2 years, actually. Hi, Rick.
Right, and as Jeff correctly pointed out, you can get there is a generic right now that's available, and oftentimes that generic is going to be less expensive and it works just as well. The other thing is, and I know Len will get there, but you can take it with food, and if you take it with food, it reduces the dose by a quarter, right, Len? You take a quarter dose.
Reduced it by 3/4. So you can only you can take one pill with a low-fat meal, like a breakfast, maybe a little peanut butter and oatmeal, and the drug is heavily dependent on food to be absorbed, much better than if you take it on an empty stomach. So empty stomach is the requirement there is 4
Now-
pills, but you can get away with
Let
one
me
pill.
let me just say, don't be doing this on our advice. You need to huddle with a doc, and you should have a genitourinary medical oncologist on hand. There's a very good one. There's a very good one at Yale, Petrylak, that we can recommend. But together with the genitourinary medical oncologist, you can put yourself on this reduced dose with food that works well. That's going to be a lot easier on your pocketbook. Are you a veteran?
No, I'm not. No.
Okay. All right.
I do have a medical oncologist with the Hartford Healthcare,
Right.
Dr. Camrack.
Okay. Is Dr. Camrack a specialized genitourinary medical oncologist or a general medical oncologist?
You know,
This is John. He's not. He's a general oncologist.
oh, thank you.
Thanks,
Okay.
Thanks, Dr. John. So you need to switch that. You need to get yourself to a GU med. Len, I'll go back to you. You can handle this part.
Yeah. So you can see already why it was a good idea to join the call, right, Jim?
Definitely,
Okay.
definitely.
Oh, what is the name of the type of oncologist that we need to get?
GU, genitourinary, or as the Brits like Rick say, genitourinary. I think most Americans would say genitourinary. So they are medical oncologists whose their practice focuses on the genitourinary tract. So that's prostate cancer, testicular cancer, bladder cancer, kidney, etc. But most of their business is prostate cancer, and there are so many changes every year, even less than every year, in this field that you can't afford to be without a GU specialist when you're being treated, because a general oncologist can't possibly keep up with all the advances, all the subtleties in treatment.
Right.
What did somebody recommend one at Yale, New Haven?
Yes.
I can take that, guys.
John Antonucci, you want to recommend someone, or would you recommend Petrylak?
Yeah, I guess I would. I mean, at my time, it was about 2 years ago when I was in your spot, and I live in Connecticut also. Hartford Hospital did not have any GU medical oncologists at the time. And so I jumped down to Yale and got one. Yale is what we call NCCN, National Comprehensive Cancer Network Center. And this guy's name is Petrylak, Petrylak, I think it is.
R-A-K.
I put it in the chat, and I'll put a link in there for just 1 second.
I'll be down there actually next week.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
John, are you still on this medication?
I was on Abiraterone for
Right.
about 3/4 of a year before I developed a great deal of swelling and out of control blood pressure. So I was switched to an alternative drug.
Okay.
But I'm still on my Lupron. I'm
Okay.
getting
Right.
toward the end of the 2 years now.
I know my cardiologist is quite concerned. I have some underlying conditions with my heart, so
Okay.
he's
Make
following.
sure he's aware of the Abiraterone. All these drugs are a little rough on the heart, to tell you the truth. But Abiraterone seems to be especially disruptive to blood pressure and other cardiovascular effects like swelling. So just inform your cardiologist. My cardiologist's comment was, not my favorite drug.
Is
But
that right?
he didn't stop me from being on it because it was more important than the alternative. But there are other alternatives just in case your cardiologist doesn't like it.
Okay.
Everybody reacts to it differently. So, I mean, some people have blood pressure issues from the prednisone that goes with it. But I had no issues other than it stopped working after about 15 months.
Yeah.
I've been on it for 18 months and it has been working just great for the last 3 months. It's held steady at 0.2. And I definitely have never had high blood pressure, and I've got a real problem getting it regulated. Can't quite get the right drug combo yet, but the other problems are really minimal for me. I must admit, though, it made the hot flashes worse.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right.
And I never had hot flashes either from it. So,
Is that right? Yeah.
So
I know you look at these drugs and the side effects. My God, but everyone's different. That's what I say. Everyone's different.
Don't assume until you try it.
That's right. Right.
Is my advice.
Yeah, Jim, we have a guy in the group who's not on the call tonight who Rick can check me on this. Dennis, I think he was on it for 4 years, right, Rick?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and he's back on it again. He took a holiday and now he's back on it.
4 years and no problems.
Okay.
Excuse me, Len, this is Jim Marshall. Anyway, I've been on it now for 57 months, and I just started a vacation.
Okay, you're our new world record holder for Abby, 57 months.
Yes.
7 months. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're on vacation now, Jim Marshall, right?
Yes, I am.
So I think the take-home message here, Jim and Bob, is number one, you got to get yourself a GU medical oncologist as quickly as you can, and Petrylak is a really good alternative at Yale. There are also some good alternatives in New York City. So it's sort of a bit of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other from where you are. But we know Petrylak. There's good and bad with him. He can be. I mean, I should let the guys tell you who see him. But some people feel he's a little arrogant. Some people really like him. But we can tell you he really does know his stuff. Secondly, if you've got heart issues, then you should be talking to him about that, and he's going to come up with the right drug. And there may be, and Dr. John will know this better than me, but there may be a cardio oncologist at Yale. This is a relatively new field of expertise, of specialty. And we're seeing more and more around the country at the centers of excellence. And these are docs who are cardiologists who specialize in men who have cancer. And if there is a cardio oncologist there, that's who you need to be seeing, because they will be the best party to coordinate. There are issues around the steroids. The steroids can be adjusted. The prednisone can be changed to dexamethasone. The amount can be changed. And all of those things can help you in terms of regulating your blood pressure. And there are drugs that work a little differently to the abiraterone that don't require steroids. And again, it's way beyond my pay grade, although Dr. John, who is an MD, has investigated this pretty deeply in terms of the best drugs, the best second-line anti-androgens. So I would say that your take-home message from here right now is Number one, get yourself a GU Med-Onc, and number two, get yourself the right medicine. You may be a candidate for a really good drug called darolutamide. Somebody will put it in the chat window for you, or Nubeqa, which can be used as an alternative. It's probably not as good to use it. It's better to start with the Abiraterone, but if there are issues around the Abiraterone, it's a really good choice. And with just, it's a really good option. And with just some fairly low-level lymph node metastasis, you may have a very, very good chance of getting that drug with Dr. Petrylak, because you know, it sounds like you could qualify for that drug. It's not easy to qualify for it, but you may be able to. It's a big may, and it depends very much on the prescribing oncologist whether they'll get it for you or they won't. But if you can get it, that's the drug that most of the men in this group would suggest is the best option for you. Well, that's you know,
what the drug that just was on the screen here.
Yeah. And so, you know, I think that probably before you get too far into figuring out the cost of the Abiraterone, I mean, the first thing with the Abiraterone is to talk to the doctor about taking it with food. And the doctor that you're seeing in Hartford may not even know about that option.
No, actually, I was told that I would have to take it 2 hours before I have something to eat.
Right. That's right. But that's the regular prescribing way to do it. But there's another option, and you know, your doctor may not even be aware of that other option, but it's been tested, it's been tried. There are men right now here on this call who are taking the drug that way, and it's much easier on your pocketbook because it goes 4 times as far. You take 250 instead of 1,000 each day, and you take it with food.
Wow. Okay.
Is it, Rick, is there any way that this can, you can shoot me an email or,
About what?
well, what we've been discussing, because I'm trying to scribble as fast as I can, but it keeps flashing on and off the screen.
Len, can you send Jim and Barbara the I think you've got that research at your fingertips on the low dose, right?
Yes, I can do that, Barbara. Also, I'll send you a transcript of the chat session so you can look over everything that people posted there.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Also, if you guys want a local contact, if it's okay with my bosses here, I will be glad to be available. I live in Canton.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
If it's okay, we love you for doing that, Dr. John. We love you for doing that. Thank you so much. We you know, it's up to John to offer, and we thank you. And you couldn't have a much better coach, especially given around the hard issues, because John is really knowledgeable on that. Thank you so much, John.
It means
John,
higher pay grade.
Will you send your contact details to the Squillicottis in the chat window?
Okay.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Okay.
The other thing is this call is recorded and the video is available within a couple of days, so you can actually watch and listen as many times as you need to.
Super, that's great.
Where is it posted? Is it?
So what you need to do is go to the blog on our website and sign up for the blog, and then you'll get a note when it's posted, and you'll see the transcript of the chat window, and you can link there right to it. So the easiest way to do it is to go to our blog, AnCan'rs blog, and sign up on the right-hand side, and then you'll probably hopefully we'll get to it. It should be up by Thursday.
I think they're already signed up, Rick. You got email notification of this meeting, didn't you, Jim and Barbara?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
I did.
but I'm talking about the blog, Len, not the database, the blog.
That's different.
Yeah. No. Well, I thought you were referring to what Rich Jackson said, that they can get they can view the recording, and you send that out to everybody on the email list.
So somebody just posted the YouTube address.
Blog, not on MailChimp.
You can straight access it on YouTube just by date and AnCan'rs.
Guys, let's not confuse, please, let's not confuse a cat here, all right?
Okay.
Just go to the blog on ancan.org, go to the blog, sign up, and you'll get a notice.
Beautiful, thank you.
Oh, yeah, Ben put that in the chat session for you. He gave you the link there. Thank you, Ben.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Len, do you have any other questions?
Yes, I wanted to ask you, is there a history of prostate cancer or breast cancer in your family?
No, actually, I've lost a brother and 3 sisters to cancer, and all different types. My brother had a glioblastoma, brain tumor. My youngest sister had leukemia. My middle sister had breast cancer, and my sister that just passed away had pancreatic cancer. So they're all different types of cancer.
Wow.
I'm the only one that I know of in my family. I come from a large family. I mean, my father's side is 12 children. I'm the only one that I know of that's had prostate cancer. I mean,
those other cancers are related to inherited problems like BRCA too. Pancreatic and breast cancer are all. You need to do the. Has anybody posted the Promise websites? Have you done genetic testing?
We just went for counseling a couple of weeks ago. We haven't done it yet.
All right, there's a free one. Somebody will post the link to it so you can get a free Promise test, and a genetic counselor will talk with you about the results.
Okay.
I'll put the link, and tomorrow night you should be signed up for our webinar, because this is what we're going to be talking about tomorrow night. It's not prostate cancer specific, but we'll be talking about this.
In my family, there's pancreatic and breast cancer in multiple people, so and prostate cancer as well.
Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, I'm concerned too with my nieces and nephews.
Are any of your relatives from Germany? Any parents, grandparents?
No.
Well, we don't know.
Well, we don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
both parents were Italian descent.
But we don't know anything within the family. I mean, other than his parents. I mean, that was it.
Hey, Leonardo, do you Italians carry that BRCA as well, or is it just us Ashkenazi Jews, man?
No, we don't. We don't.
Okay.
I mean, we just have the same risk that the general population has.
Except I'm Italian, and I'm half Italian, and my father had prostate cancer, but I got the BRCA from my mother's side. So
is that right?
And my brother also now has prostate cancer, and he does not have BRCA. So my father and my brother, without known genetic markers at this time.
Wow.
Jeff,
Well, the
did
bottom
you
line-
actually go through the genetic testing?
Oh yeah, a while ago. But I did the Promise one as well. Well, a couple of years ago I went through it, but I did the Promise one as well because you want to get in their database. And there's a link in the chat window. So and they'll send you a vial. Just don't say that you want to send a sample. Don't pick that option because then you need a doctor involved. Otherwise, they'll just send you a tube that you spit into, and within about 2-3 weeks, you'll have the results.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Interesting.
So Jim and Barbara, did you get notification of the webinar on genetic testing?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so Rick, I mean, if they're getting those notifications, wouldn't they get the recording notification?
No.
No?
Len, the recordings we send out every week go through the blog. The reason they got the notification is because we include the announcement in the reminder. The reminder goes out through MailChimp. The blog is different from if you're not signed up to the blog again, you should be signed up to the blog. The blog
Right.
is something that we put out all kinds of interesting information on, not just about prostate cancer, but about all of our groups. And but there's a lot about prostate cancer, and the way we send the recording out each week is that we post it to the blog.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good to know.
All right. Well, I'll have to sign up for that then.
All right, so we really need to move on. Did
Okay.
you guys have any other questions for us?
Not at the moment. I mean, the information you've given us so far has been tremendous, really.
I just want to ask one thing. I was told that you don't need a urologist at this point. It's the medical oncologist that's driving everything. Is that the case with all of you?
Well, unless you have problems with urinary issues, yeah, that's true. You don't really need to see a urologist.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us, guys. We really need to move on. We've got somebody who's going to leave soon. I want to get to him. He needs time to talk, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Steve Soft, go ahead.
Okay. As I mentioned, I guess before some people on today is my 41st wedding anniversary, so I'm going to go downstairs and have dinner after this. I am scheduled to get my second combination radionuclide treatment a week from Friday. To date, there's no clear evidence that the treatment is working or not working. My numbers are staying about the same. They've always bounced around a bit. The problem that I have is that my back pain just keeps getting worse. And I did get a right now my eye is bothering me too, but for my contact lenses. But at any rate, I had a lower lumbar MRI with the hopes that maybe they would see something that was sticking out from degenerative conditions that I've had for a number of years in my lower back. And it did show that there was some improvement with the cancer, but there is stenosis issues, and the likelihood is that the T11 and T12 is where I've had problems since 2018, and the likelihood they think is that once we get past the clinical trial that we'll look at that, and maybe there are some things that they can do to give me relief. But the back pain is really, 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 really just getting worse and worse day by day. It is staying in one spot. It doesn't seem to be spreading. And I worry a little bit because I don't really get too much exercise or walk around that could be contributing to it. But for the moment, there's no point in doing any kind of scans till after July the 8th because they wouldn't let me do any other kind of treatment right now while I'm in the clinical trial. before determining, before I get past the second treatment. And I don't want to do anything that would jeopardize the clinical trial. I had really no side effects from the first infusions of the actinium 225 and the lutetium 177. And, I'm now down to a week from Friday. I'll get the second one. And then they have me scheduled over the next couple of weeks for a gallium-68 scan, a whole body bone scan, and I'll add in MRIs. My personal opinion is that the whole body bone scan doesn't tell us a lot. So that is my update. I'm in good spirits. I'm focusing well. Well, good spirits, that's a lie. I'm not really in good spirits. The pain is pretty hard to deal with. But I'm focusing well. I've had a good run of luck with work, and I'm a recruiter these days, and I have made a couple of placements over the last couple of weeks. And I'm really hoping that it is, a serious, I know it's a serious problem, but I'm hoping it's not a deadly one with, the metastatic disease really getting much, much worse. So, and we should start to find out mid-July. So that is my update. And anybody has any thoughts of whether or not, waiting at this point seems like the only thing I can do.
So two questions, Steve.
Sure.
The first is, was the last PSA that I had for you was you were back up to 134. Is there anything since then?
No, I'm going to take a PSA on Thursday.
Okay. And did you discuss with them whether they'd allow you to have spot radiation? And they said no. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I discussed that about 2 weeks ago. And then they were making me go to New York from Philadelphia for the labs. And I told them it's just too hard for me to do that. So I'm doing the labs in Philadelphia.
Good for you.
Them into letting them do it here and looking at it. And, on Friday, I'm sure they'll have me do labs before they do it in the same institution on Friday morning, the 8th. But I just, I was driving up and I've had a misadventure with my car broke down once. Once I got in a 3-hour traffic jam, and with my back hurting as bad as it is, sitting is the most difficult thing for me to do right now.
So did you get your car back from the underground garage?
I did. I had a friend pick it up for me, and that was a misadventure for sure. I think I made about 6 bad decisions in a 2-hour period with respect.
It's all right. We all do it. We all do it.
So,
all right. Let me turn to see if anybody else has any questions. I mean, my own feeling is that as soon as you're done with the second, you can pull out that trial and get yourself some spot radiation. That's what you got to do, man.
Yeah, exactly. I do have. I've spoken to the radiation oncologist and at Penn, which is where I'll go, and I've asked them to start to. There's a thing called interventional radiation oncologist.
Right.
And I'm making an appointment for right after that to see a neurologist. So I'm trying to get, as I said, I've gotten more energy lately, and I'm trying to get things set up. So I'm not going to be to your point.
I don't know whether, I'm not sure you have to go to those lengths, because once they do the PSMA scan, if they can see that there are lesions that are affecting your back and those vertebrae, and you huddle with a good radiation oncologist, and you can probably find one through Narayan.
Right. I love the radiation oncologist.
Oh, you got your lady, yeah, your little lady.
And yeah, I'm fine with that.
Huddle with your little, huddle with the little Indian
I will.
lady
And
and see if
actually,
she can.
Dr. E, I texted Dr. E today. I haven't answered. I've sent her a couple emails and she hasn't answered. So I hope she's not, she'll answer me, I'm sure.
I mean, she's pretty busy. I got a feeling she might be on a flight to Amsterdam today, but I'm not certain. But I know she's speaking in Amsterdam tomorrow, I think.
Okay. Well, I wanted to bring her up to date and ask her a few
Okay, well
questions like the ones
that's
I just
good, and
asked her.
I'll let her know too. But the other thing is, do you have a palliative care doc on your team?
I do. And I've been, I actually went down to see them last week and we changed the program around a little bit. But I think, I'm a big guy and for whatever reason, it always took a lot of things to make me high. And I think they're just, I have to ask them to give me a little bit more of what they're giving me right now.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I think you got to get together with that palliative care doc and work out a better pain plan.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping that I did last week, but it's not really working. So I sent them a note through the portal today, and they've been pretty responsive lately. So I will talk to them tomorrow, I'm sure. But, I mean, while I've been in such pain, I really haven't been as aggressive as I am used to being. Like I said, over the last couple...
Where's your palliative care doc, Steve?
Jefferson. So I might switch that over to Penn eventually at this point, but
yeah,
yeah. You think it's a good idea to keep it all together with Narayan and?
Yeah.
All right.
I would. And where's the little Indian radonk that you like?
Dr. Vapawala, she's at Penn.
I think you should ask them for a referral for a palliative care doc at Penn.
Okay, I will do that. I think that's a good idea, and I appreciate the gentle push, the nudge.
The nudge. And just for people listening who are thinking palliative care doc, this man's not going the other side for a while. Palliative care docs are not end of life docs. They are not end of life docs. They are there to help you manage your side effects and your pain. That's the main.
I have definitely found that even the medical oncologists are just not really equipped with their experience and knowledge to really help you through the pain. And they're more worried about, how much I'm taking than making sure that I'm really feeling better.
Right.
So at any rate, I am going to go down and have dinner with my wife of 41 years. And I just can't believe I'm old enough to be married for that long. I really can't. So, but at any rate, good to see you all. And I wish you all luck. And I'm accepting good vibes back in the other direction when you're ready. So,
good luck to you, Stephen, and all the best with your anniversary. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.
Good to hear from you, Steve. Good luck.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, let us go now to Ben Nathanson.
Okay. I wanted to take a moment to share a word about a blog I've started. This is a personal blog, not an AnCan'rs sponsored blog. You can think of it as a prostate cancer version of how things work. We're at the center of medical discovery, why this medical discovery is being done, and it's hard not to be curious about how some of this stuff works. As an example, we say that prostate cells express PSMA. We say it so often, but what exactly does that mean? Could you draw a picture of it? The most recent post I did on the blog is about microsatellite instability, which is certainly a name that's hard to, that's sort of imponderable. if this kind of stuff, this under the hood stuff sounds interesting to anybody, I'm going to post the blog address and also an email address. I would love to get feedback if this sparks any interest. And that's my pitch. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ben,
Sounds
thanks
good.
for the invitation. I'll check it out. You're going to post it in the chat, right?
Immediately, yes.
Okay. Let's see. Dennis McGuire, you needed time.
Yes. Hey, everyone. Just a quick update. University of Chicago is back in production with Pluvicto. For those that weren't aware of that, I think they started last Friday. I'm scheduled for my 5th treatment of Pluvicto at Chicago on July 8th. So that's really all I had to share tonight.
And where's your PSA now, Dennis?
I think it's like 3.6.
That's as low as it's been, right?
Yes, that's the low point.
Okay, it's great. And you're going to get 2 more treatments, I guess?
Yeah, on the managed access program, there's 2 more treatments scheduled for a total of 6. And then
I'm a brand new person. I've never been here before.
Who is that that just spoke?
I've been a cancer patient.
Okay, hold your horses, James. We're right in the middle. You interrupted somebody.
I'm sorry,
Give
I
you some
apologize.
time, and we'll come right to you. Okay?
Okay,
Hold still.
I'm sorry. I'm like I say, this is my
That's
first time.
okay. We'll be right with you.
Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead,
yeah,
Dennis.
so just to reiterate that, so 2 more treatments scheduled under the managed access program, and then we'll think about what's next after that. One thing out there that I'm starting to think about is, the balance between a low PSA and continuing additional Pluvicto, and what the Pluvicto could be doing to the bone marrow and the red and white cells. I had 3 lutetium treatments previous to the managed access program, so I've already had 7 treatments over the course of 15 months. So that's one thing that I'm starting to ponder.
It's a really interesting point that you raise, Dennis. I just signed up, and I plan to include it in the reminder for next week for a PCF session with Michael Hoffman and Declan Murphy in Australia on PSMA. And one of the questions that I'm hoping that we might be able to get answered is more knowledge about repeat Pluvicto treatments. I'm thinking about people like you and people like Steve, he's going to be done with his actinium lutetium in a week or so, but can he go back? Can he get more? I mean, you're one of the few people we know who's gone around a second time because you didn't get enough the first time. And where are we? What trials are they doing? So it'd be great when I send this out next week if we get more of us on there so we can sort of pursue this. I think it's a really, really important point. We don't know. When I say we, I certainly don't know, and maybe Len or Ben do, or Herb, who's in Scotland right now, sailing his boat. They may know what happens with more repeat treatments. But you raise a really good point. I mean, we're on the cutting edge here, man.
Right, because, you know, just normal radiation through SBRT, IMRT, there's limits to how much radiation your body can tolerate.
Well, yeah, you know, and why should lutetium or actinium or any of these other radionuclides be different to any other form of radiation? There's only so much that we can, right, that the body can tolerate. So, you know, we've got to dig more, we've got to dig deeper into that. You know, you might want to, this is just a thought. You've got two people you can talk to about it. I mean, I forget, is Shmulewicz your main man? At
Chicago, it's his colleague, Dr. Patniak.
Okay. So, you know, ask Patniak what he knows, or to talk with Stadler and Shmulewicz, what they know. And I'd also go back to your guy at Carbone. Lang, was it?
Dr. Lang is, yeah, he's the GU. Yeah.
I go back to him and say, you know, what feedback do you have? What are you seeing? Do you have other patients? How many times can we go back and get this treatment? Because that's what everybody on this call wants to know. Why? Because we know it's only going to last 12 to 24 months. I mean, unfortunately, I wish I could say to you it's going to last longer, but it isn't going to. Most people we're seeing, that's what it is. And some people like Al Latimer, it's not even that. So can we use this radionuclide like we prescribe, excuse me 1 second, I've got somebody at the door. Can we use it like chemo, where we go back? Okay. I'll be right back. Len, take over.
Yep. Yeah, at this stage in advanced prostate cancer, I don't believe there are any options for treatment that don't involve immunosuppressive drugs that, you know, that suppress the bone marrow, red blood cells, white blood cells, except possibly immunotherapy, of course. But that has its own risks. So no matter what treatment option you choose, there's going to be some bone marrow impact.
Right, and I guess the open question is that a permanent loss of bone marrow, or does it recover over time after treatment?
I think it does recover, probably never fully recovered. I mean, I've spent most of the last 4 years on drug holiday, and although my red blood cells and white blood cells have increased, they're not where I was before I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And Peter Kafka, you know, his hemoglobin got knocked down to about 9 when he was on chemo, and it's recovered a little bit, but not much from there. I think he's probably still below 10.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, you should talk to your doctor about that possibility of bone marrow recovery. All right.
Great, thank you.
Any questions for Dennis?
Dennis, where is your hemoglobin right now?
It is at 11.5.
Okay, wait, I mean, you're
Pretty good.
you're good. That's good, right? If you see me sitting next to somebody here, this is somebody that we've navigated and advocated for the last 15 months, 18 months.
Mhm.
And this is Mark Horn, who lives with lower urothelial, advanced lower urothelial bladder cancer. And Mark was with Dr. Rosenberg, who's a GU Med on Memorial Sloan Kettering, and we've switched him over. Jerry Pelfrey, we've switched this gent over to Dr. Singh.
Talk to Jerry.
Oh, you've talked to Jerry. So Jerry, we've got, I don't think Dennis Career is on here today. And Mark's on his way down to meet up with his wife, his Brazilian wife, who can't get into this country right now, he's going to be moving to the border right here. And he flew in today and he's literally on the way down. And he's just stopping off here, waiting for his ride to get him over the border. And so what? And you're on enfortumab vedotin right now, right? Which is enfortumab vedotin is an advanced
Antibody drug conjugate.
It's an antibody drug conjugate, and we're really keeping our fingers crossed that it will do the trick. Mark, you've been through everything, man, haven't you? What have you done? Tell them.
So 4 months of cisplatin and gemcitabine, which is standard of care systemic chemo, and then pembrolizumab for 4 months, which didn't work. In the middle of pembrolizumab, I had radiation. It was palliative. I had 35 days of IMRT, and now it's enfortumab.
And that radiation, by the way, is the same radiation we get because it was to the prostate, because Mark's cancer appeared in the prostate, not in the bladder, even though it was bladder cancer. So the treatment that he went on, and Mark was in a couple of sessions in our low intermediate risk group to hear about the side effects of radiation. And I just met Mark right now as I went to the door, because we never met before. So he's from he's a countryman of yours, Mr. Nathanson, and the other New Jerseyites. He's for Princeton, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's a Princeton man. So sorry to interrupt with that, but so we'll be listening here until Mark's ride arrives. So just want to say, and with that level of hemoglobin, yours was lower than that, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
What did you get down to?
I need to check the numbers.
It was
lower.
It was quite a bit lower, Dennis. So you're doing okay.
Yeah, my doctor doesn't get concerned until it gets below 9.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I was about 9.
Yeah, that's when they start thinking about giving you a unit or two.
All right, thanks for listening.
Can I just talk to James for a second, Len?
Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, my story is.
James, hold on.
I'm so frustrated. I'm very frustrated.
I hear you are. Let me just explain. There's a lot of people in the room, and we have a system, believe it or not, so as to try and keep everybody straight. And we try to receive new men at the beginning of the meeting. And we dedicate time for them to come in and to tell their story. Now, right now, we still have men who want time in this meeting. If we get through all of these men, we will give you the time. If not, you will be a priority. We meet every week. So the next meeting is going to be next Monday, and I'm going to be chairing that. I'm leading that meeting, and I guarantee you that we'll give you the time to tell your whole story at the beginning. But we have to defer to the men who are in here, who arrived. The meeting started, I don't know what time zone you're in, but it started at 6 o'clock Eastern.
I fully respect that.
Okay, but we will work with you, we promise. And if you just make sure, send us your email, we'll make sure you're in the database, put it in the chat window, which is the little box, and we will give you some
I'll go through that procedure.
you, priority.
My problem is that I have to have my chemo infusion on Friday, and that's the one I'm having the problem with. I don't know if it's going to kill me or not, but I just go through the steps. That's all.
Okay, so if it's the first chemo that if you haven't done chemo before, and this is going to be your first chemo.
No, it's my third.
This is going to be your third. Okay, well, we'll try and get some feedback on chemo for you, but as you hear, there's a lot of guys who have done chemo in this group.
Thank you. I'll get back to you. I promise I'll follow procedure. I didn't mean to be late.
Sorry, it's just that we've got other guys.
I
Everybody
agree.
wants time.
Absolutely, you're absolutely 100% correct. I'm wrong.
Okay, and we'll try and help you with your chemo. Hang in. We've got time yet, so hang in, and we'll try and get to you. Len?
Thank you so much.
Okay, let's go to Frank Fabish.
Just a quick to James. The chemo treatments won't kill you. But I had my checkup on Tuesday of last week, and my PSA continues to be undetectable, 0.04, and my testosterone came in at 14. So that was very pleased. The whole team at the James in Columbus were very pleased with the results. I'll continue with my treatment. There was some question going in because my doc had pulled me off enzalutamide for 6 weeks. And then I started on darolutamide on May the 19th. So they weren't sure what to expect in the results. So they were very pleased with those results. And the rest of my readings were all within the limits. So it was a good checkup, and I'll go back in 2 months for another blood draw and a checkup. The other thing that I think with the anniversaries, my wife and I just celebrated our 55th wedding anniversary last week. So that was very enjoyable, and so we called it our double nickel. So now we're working on our 56th. Last thing is my wife and I went on the first trip with Pfizer on our ambassador. I'm an ambassador for Orgovyx, and my wife is my caregiver ambassador. And they had a photo shoot in San Diego that Pfizer is going to incorporate in their online advertising. And we were a little bit squeamish over the trip and who we were going to meet with, because we weren't with them face to face at any time, just online. And they were extremely professional. And we certainly enjoyed the 4 days we spent out there. And we hope to be able to speak positively about the Orgovyx. The darolutamide has drastically reduced the number of side effects I had with enzalutamide. So that's my update.
Very good, Frank. That's what I was hoping to hear when you switched to darolutamide.
Yes, it was, as I said, we had our concerns, especially with being off the meds for 6 weeks, but it all turned out well.
Yeah, I'm
Very
really
good.
pleased too, Frank, that you're doing well on the darolutamide. I mean, you're not alone. As you know, there's so many guys in this group that have moved over to darolutamide and are just doing much, much better on it. I mean, the issue is that we can't get it for as many men as we want, and we keep banging on Bayer's door and telling them they've got to expand the access, and then you've got some really great docs like Dr. E, for example, who somehow or other uses a magic and she gets it, or Dr. Schultz, but it's just a question on how the doctors, what the doctors will do, and if they'll go to bat for you, and your guy too, Amir, what's his name,
Mortazavi, yes.
Mortazavi, Amir Mortazavi, yeah, I mean, so.
And one other point that I'll bring up is when I wrote the recommendation for Lindsay Byrne at the James, she's one of the 10 finalists for the genetic counselors and their annual meeting that they're having in Nashville in November. And they're going to be taking some pictures for the book that they're producing for the meeting in Nashville.
So that's a great segue for me to do a second plug for the Genetics Genomics webinar tomorrow night, because she was our first choice to host it, but she couldn't do it because she's on vacation this week. But we have Pamela Munster hosting it, and she is just amazing. So, Pamela Munster, for those of you who don't know, is a breast cancer oncologist out of UCSF who herself carries the BRCA gene, and she has 3 kids, and so she decided, when she discovered she had the BRCA gene, she decided to get a double mastectomy and an oophorectomy, and she now co-leads the UCSF Center for BRCA Research. Her partner is Alan Ashworth, who discovered the BRCA gene, and she's really fabulous. And we've done a bunch of stuff with her before, but if you haven't seen her, she's going to host. She's going to ask the questions, and believe me, she knows the right questions to ask. Her son Max carries the BRCA gene. Her other 2 kids haven't tested yet. Her son Max is 22 or 23.
Yeah, it's something we should attend to.
Okay, let's move on now to Bruce Chapman.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I wanted just to throw out another thanks to AnCan and the support group here. First joining you guys in kind of early May, and you taught me not to be satisfied with just seeing a urologist. So I've moved on, got a referral to, well, first I was going to go up to OSHU and see Dr. Vuki, but then I learned that a local cancer center here has a relationship with MD Anderson. So I decided I'm going to see a medical oncologist here who has access to MD Anderson, and I'm certainly willing to go to MD Anderson at any point that I need to. In Hawaii, we don't have any genitourinary medical oncologists, but I did see a doctor who, based on the discussions we have here, I think is quite good, but he does routinely access his affiliation with MDA. So main thing is I just want to thank the group for not encouraging me not to settle. And the new doc has ordered up, the complete germline testing. He's ordered up a bone biopsy to see if it's really cancer or if it's inflammation. He's putting me on Xgeva to make sure the Lupron doesn't deplete my osteo much. So So a lot of good things in motion, and they're all due to this group. And I just want to say thanks.
So I have a concern, Bruce, and I don't want to upset the apple cart.
Right.
But we have to tell you that the satellite MD Andersons are not always that great, and we know this from Phoenix. And whilst they can access, and there are a couple of good docs at MD Anderson that we can mention and we can refer you to, they have to be your quarterback doc. Your quarterback doc, it's no good having your quarterback doc in your MD Anderson in Hawaii because they're just not up to speed. So if you have Jacqueline Vuki in OHSU, or if you had one of the doctors at MD Anderson, I'm just help me, Len. Who's our guy? Paul.
Peter Kafka recommended a guy named Korn.
Paul Korn. Yeah, Paul Korn. If Korn was your doc and he was working with the local guy, that would be fine.
Right.
But if it's your local guy working with Paul Korn, I wouldn't be comfortable with that. I just wouldn't.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
The other thing is, you could use Dr. E, who was at MD Anderson for 14 years until she moved over to Houston Methodist, and she'll work with a local person on the island. But the person who's calling the shots, who's saying you should do this, that, or the other, in my view, if it were me, needs to be the GU medical oncologist, whether it's Dr. Vuki, Dr. Efstathiou, Dr. Korn, or one of the other MD Anderson docs. There's 2 or 3 that are pretty good there, not just Dr. Korn. But I know see the problem is it seems like he's doing the right stuff, but you don't have the knowledge to really know. Have they done a PSMA scan yet?
That's going to be scheduled soon. It got delayed here. They were saying Medicare was about to pay more, so they delayed it. But now my new doc is giving it a higher priority. So I anticipate that being scheduled soon.
Have they sent a sample of your? Have they sent a sample of your blood or your tissue for genomic sequencing? This is not germline. This is different from germline. This is different from inherited.
Right. So I first saw the medical oncologist Friday, and he already said come in by yesterday to give blood so we can get it mailed out. So yeah, got the blood drawn, and it's on its way.
I mean, I realize you're behind the 8 ball being in Hawaii on Kauai, but if it were me, I would say fly to Houston one time and meet with Dr. Korn and be a Dr. Korn patient and have your regular telemeds with Dr. Korn and have him use the local guy to execute.
Right. Well, MD Anderson, there's some curious rules about telemed. Neither Dr. Vuki at OSHU or MD Anderson can do telemed with Hawaii. And I don't know what are all these rules that come involved. If that was a concern of mine. If I can't do telemed with my GU person,
it may be that they have to have a license to practice in Hawaii and they don't. And so it could have some, I don't know. Dr. John, can you throw any light on this for us?
No, don't know.
You don't know.
Rick, Dr. Vuki's assistant told me that OSHU can't do telemeds outside the state of Oregon. So
You know,
And then when I
think
I checked with MDA, they said Hawaii's not on their list.
I think that I might speak to Dr. Evstathiou. I think that if it were me, then I would see if you can if Dr. Evstathiou at Houston Methodist can help you, because she may well be able to. And she does do telemed, and as long as there's somebody local to work with, you need a local person, but I would look into that. But I definitely would want to lodge my main my main doctor, my main quarterback should be a GU Med-Onc. Didn't you say that you had family in Portland?
I do, right.
So, you know, maybe you can, you know, again go back to Vuki and see, look, you know, if I've got family and I'm based here, I'm based in Portland and in Hawaii, can you talk to me on that basis?
Okay, I'll give that a try.
Give that a try, and call Dr. Evstathiou's office and see if they could work something out for you, with you being where you are.
Could you email me the contact information? I'm on the phone, not on the
Yeah, I'll make a note and I'll follow up afterwards with that.
I appreciate it.
Surely.
I mean, yeah, that's it for me. No, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to see if anybody else had any input. I mean, am I off base here, or does anybody else have any feelings on this? Thoughts?
Rick, Joe Blanchett here. You're absolutely correct. It's a licensure matter. For instance, Dr. Antonarakis, I can only deal with him from Maryland or from Minnesota. I can't deal with him from Virginia.
So that means that you have to go, if you want to do a telephone call with him, telemed call with him, you have to be in Maryland?
That is exactly right. I have to drive to Maryland, which is not bad for me. It's about 20 minutes away, but yes, that's exactly right. Or I can fly to Minneapolis, either way. These laws are probably archaic and prior to COVID, but someday they'll change.
Well, see, I mean, she's doing some pretty amazing stuff, and she's managed to see most of the guys that we've sent to her. So see if Dr. E's office can do something for you, and tell them tell them AnCan'rs sent you, and we'll see. I mean, the worst is they say no, and you stay in the situation that you have. But I think if it were me, I really would want to have I'd want to have a GU Med-Onc, and I know there isn't one on the island of Hawaii, Bruce. I know that you're compromised.
Right, we don't have one in the state, right?
Mm-hmm. No, you don't.
Right.
You don't.
Okay, well, I'll get on that and see if I can rustle up anybody that's reputable, that's can do telehealth to Hawaii. That's in addition to seeing them in person occasionally, of course. But,
what's the population in the state of Hawaii? You think they could afford one GU medical
about
oncologist?
1.5 mil.
That's a fairly decent size.
Hey, Dr. John, you fancy doing another residency?
Oh yeah, I'd love to go through that again. Yeah. Especially in Hawaii.
Well, you got the credentials.
Yeah, thanks to everybody. Yeah.
Sorry, Bruce, what'd you say?
Well, I was just saying thanks to everybody, and we can move on to the next gent.
Okay, well, thank you. So I want to go to Pat Martin and then to Richard Crammond. So go ahead, Pat.
Just a real quick update. Going back to how many people have been on Zytiga or Abiraterone. I've been fighting prostate cancer for 8 years. I've been on Lupron or Eligard for 7 of those. And 5 of those years I've been on Abby. My PSA started doubling every 6 weeks. On my last 3-month checkup, I go in this Friday for a checkup, and I discovered when I was getting ready for bed a couple of nights ago that I've got chest hair. Now, I went 50 years having chest hair. I went 7 years without, and now I have it. I'm thinking my ADT has failed. What do you think?
Well, what's your testosterone number?
I'm having that checked on Friday. Several years ago, I asked my doctor what my T level was, and he says, I know what it is.
Can't hear you.
No, I'm hearing you fine. I think, Len, it could be with you.
Okay. A couple of years ago,
Yeah,
I
it's
asked.
my end. Telling me to turn off my webcam, so I'm going to do that.
Several years ago, I asked my doctor what my T levels was. And it was right when several months into both levels of ADT. And he says, I know what it is, it's 0. He says, I don't need to run a test for that. I said, yeah, that's okay. Well, it's not 0 anymore, I can tell you. Anyway,
we've got guys, Pat, who monitor. Ken Anderson's not on today, but he and some of his friends monitor their testosterone as aggressively as they monitor their PSA.
Yeah.
And it's always been an issue for me as to why on earth these docs are so reluctant, because it's a very good sign. It's a very good marker to see whether the ADT is effective or not. And then that's why we suggest that you do it. And, I don't know if this was Schweitzer or not, but I think you gotta say, I want my T testing, and I remember having discussions with Ken Anderson in the early days, because his testosterone went from 7 to 10 and he was really worried. And should he switch this or switch that? I mean, you can make yourself a little crazy over it, but I do think that it is a very important marker, at least every few months to see. And you may be right, and it may be that the ADT isn't working, and it could be that just switching from Lupron to Orgovyx may make a difference for you.
Yeah, I'm on Eligard right now, and same thing.
Mm-hmm. And you're still scheduled to go on Keytruda, right?
Yes, I am.
Let me see. Mark just stepped into the other room to make a call, but if you want, I can get him and he can talk to you about the time he spent. Oh, here he is. Mark, can you talk a little bit about the time you went on Keytruda? Because this gent's just about to go on Keytruda.
Sure, yeah. So I was on it for 4 months. It was a lot easier than chemo. All I had was a little skin itchiness. Sometimes it's kind of intense, but it passed very quickly. So basically, my experience with Keytruda was pretty uneventful. It didn't work for me.
But no thyroid problems, just a little skin rash, huh?
Yeah, I think thyroid might be a longer term thing, because I was only on it for 4 months.
Yeah. But I've heard the skin rash thing before too, Pat.
Mm-hmm.
Any tips? Any Keytruda tips, Mr. Horn?
I don't think so. Nothing. I mean, for me, after chemo, it was so much easier because this was a 30-minute infusion where I was getting for cisplatin gemcitabine, I was getting 7 hours in the first treatment of each cycle, and so there's no hydration needed, which was great. But that's bladder cancer. It's not prostate cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I think it'd be pretty easy.
Thank you much. I appreciate the input.
Okay, Pat.
That's
We
all I
tried.
have. No,
We
that's
tried.
okay. I will give it an update on Monday, what my PSA is on July 1st.
What is your last PSA? I have 0.32. Was it higher than that?
No, it was 0.12. It doubled from 0.34. Actually, more than it quadrupled from 0.34 to 1.2.
1.2. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
in 3 months. In 3 months.
Okay.
This is John. I'm looking forward to hearing, Pat, what your labs turn out to be too. I wonder if maybe the testosterone goes up before the PSA or after the PSA. Who knows? But
no,
I'm going to be interested.
I believe it went up before, and since we hadn't been tracking it,
yeah,
we're running to catch up now.
Yeah.
Is my carpenter's assertion, my carpenter's idea that cause and effect, testosterone causes PSA.
I'm betting on a testosterone of, I don't know, 60.
Yeah, I don't even know what would, I don't know what's normal. Never, I don't believe I've ever been checked for it. I'll let it go. You got other people to go to. Thanks again.
I had a quick question on that subject. Isn't your testosterone level, or somebody's testosterone level, part of the definition of castrate resistant if you have rising PSA and low testosterone?
I'll let one of the brain trusts answer that.
Yeah, that's true.
So I agree with Rick's insanity in saying that why the heck don't they test that on a regular basis? I had to ask for them to test mine. Pretty good.
They should test over time. Okay, guys, we're running out of time. We got to move to Richard and then to Jim Barnes. Go ahead, Richard.
Okay, it's just a couple of quick questions. One of which is, well, first of all, I'm going for my 6th cycle on the docetaxel chemo.
On what?
Docetaxel. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong.
Oh, docetaxel.
Okay. This Friday. And after that, it's going to be time to make some decisions. Well, I've got that, and I've got Lupron as well going. And I guess I'm kind of wondering what is going to happen after that. That I have got the metastasis to the lungs, as well as all the lymph nodes in the abdomen. And that's why no one wanted to talk to me about radiation or surgery. So I guess kind of looking, any ideas what I'm going to hear for the future? The docetaxel, as I call it, and I'm mispronouncing it, I know. Doing that, my veins have started to have a lot of problems. And that stuff is nasty, I guess is the best way of putting it. But anyway, just since I'm relatively new to this, I only got diagnosed in February. So
February. And so what other treatments did you have besides Lupron and docetaxel?
that's it. I had prednisone, and they took me off of that.
What?
Was that for the chemo, or did you have prednisone with abiraterone?
Docetaxel.
Well, it's all three at the same time.
Okay. Got it.
So Len,
And what was your PSA in the beginning? What is it now?
At the beginning, it was 2.2, and then I've never had it up above 4. I had 1.4 several years ago, but then it was now it is down to 0.12. And Petrylak is down to like 6.
Yeah, I saw the chat.
Let me remind you, this is the gentleman who had a very unusual prostate cancer, foamy gland prostatic adenocarcinoma.
Yeah.
Which Dr. Epstein said he'd only ever seen 21 cases of this.
Yeah.
So, and he's being treated at NIH. Take a look in the chat window. There are a couple of things that come to my mind. First of all, I know that you're with Dr. Apollo at NIH, and right now she's your quarterback, isn't that right, Richard?
No, is Josh Allen at Nova.
Oh, that's right, Josh Allen at Innovashare. That's right, that's right, Josh Allen at Innovashare.
And
So
then Markowski at Johns Hopkins.
That's right. That's right.
Is adding, I guess, is consulting there too.
Right now, so what does what answer is Dr. Allen giving you?
After this I don't know. I'm going to find out Friday, and then we'll find out 2 weeks after. We'll go to another CT scan and look at that. After 3 rounds of the chemo, we did the CT scan, and well, there's 135 nodes in the lungs, but they shrunk, and there were no new ones. And the same with the lymph nodes as well. They shrunk, and so that was after 3, and after 6,
so
then it's going to be. Can I keep?
Just remind me again. What was the reason why you were not a candidate for radiation?
Because of the extent of the metastasis to the lungs and all the lymph nodes.
Okay, so there's
that
a couple
was Dr.
of things.
Kanani.
Right. So there are a couple of things that I think I would be discussing with Dr. Allen. The first thing to raise with him, in my view, would be: do we need to treat the primary, the prostate, with radiation? Okay. So if there's no reason why you cannot get radiation other than the fact that it's metastatic, then you should definitely be talking to him. There are several men on this call with metastatic disease who have had their primary treated. That is now pretty much standard of care. It wasn't 5 years ago, certainly wasn't 10 years ago. But now we do treat. Herb had that done. I think Jim Barnes had it done. There's other guys on here who have had that done. So that's the first thing to talk to them about. Secondly, have you ever had a PSMA scan?
No, I'm going to ask about that. I know that's
okay. Well, what we want to know is if you're PSMA sensitive. And you know, it might be a very good idea to have a PSMA scan. They've been seeing, if they've been picking up all of these metastases just with a PET CT scan, we need to know what they see with a PSMA scan, and if you are PSMA positive, because you could be a candidate going forward, maybe not right away, but you could be a candidate going forward for Pluvicto, which is the radionuclide treatment. So, I mean, there are treatments that are out there. And now that we've gotten you down to 0.12, you know, it's way above my pay grade, is because your cancer is so unusual, what it's going to respond to. I mean, normally with an unusual cancer, they will mix in a platinum, but for some reason, they didn't do it. They just gave you docetaxel. So maybe there's something about this foamy gland that doesn't make it appropriate. I mean, that's where my brain stress comes in. You know, people like Ben and Len and Herb are busy, whilst I'm talking and rambling on, they're busy looking on the internet to see what's going on with foamy gland. But you know, hopefully you won't have to do any more chemo. Now, the other possibility is if we can't control it, you may have to do follow-up chemo because you seem to respond to the chemo. Hopefully not, but it's a possibility. Have you been sequenced? Has it been sent away? Okay. Were you MSI high?
No.
You were not. Okay. So then that, you know, you're probably not a great candidate for pembrolizumab or one of the anti-PD-1, PD-L1 drugs. But those are a few things I think to be talking about with Dr. Allen, as long as he's, you know, as long as he remains your quarterback doc. Does that help you?
Yeah, that's what I was looking for, is what are the right questions to ask?
Write those questions down, Richard. Don't just go in and ask them. Write them each down and hand him a copy. The reason for that is he will then respond to each of the questions and he won't channel you out. Really important to do that. Just, these are my questions. Here's a copy. Why? Because he has to put that piece of paper in your record. So he's then going to answer every one of the questions. So make sure those questions are written out for him.
Yeah, well, that's important because it also then goes up to Johns Hopkins because they are supposed to chime in after the 6 doses, and we get the next scan.
Ben, speak up, please.
I had put in the chat to organizers. I'm not sure how generally useful it is. That foamy gland in itself is not all that rare and not a worse prognosis. Just foamy gland. I think what raised Epstein's eyebrows, what isn't common, is a high-grade foamy gland, which, you know, like any high-grade cancer, has a worse prognosis.
And yeah, and they also, and I'm looking, I missed my mark here. With the stoma, there was something, I can't find the note right now, that was unusual as well, surrounding the cells. So.
Yeah,
I'm
stromal cells.
Stromal cells, okay.
So I think
Stroma, yeah.
I think you should ask the doctors, okay, there are a limited number of cases, but what treatments were successful with those 21 other patients?
That's a good question.
Great.
That supposedly, based on that, that's where they went to the chemo and the ATD.
I don't know whether we'll get anything, but I will send a note to Ellie Van Allen, who runs the metastatic prostate cancer project, and see if he can give any guidance. The problem is it's really that they're always very reluctant to give any information out of that. But I can definitely ask him if he's got any guidance on foamy gland, if he's got anybody else in the base that has had foamy gland. And I would encourage you very much to sign up for the Metastatic Prostate Cancer Project, because it would be very good information for them. They just send you a kit and you follow up from there. A bunch of these guys are on it, and I think they would very much appreciate having your sample. And I will tell him that you know, we're hoping to marshal that for him and ask him if he can give us any information at all.
Okay, the metastatic cancer.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat window for you,
Okay.
Richard. I'll put the link in the chat window for you. Let me just make a note to myself to convey your information to LEV for Richard Crayman, and then I'll put the link in here. This is a database they've been assembling for about 4 or 5 years now. And the purpose of it is to try and find similarities between different genetic similarities, but they're also interested in the they also record the morphology, so they'll know, you know, if there's anybody else in there that fits. And I'll just see if he's got any ideas. You never know. He's on our advisory board. He's a good guy, and you know, I know that we'll get a response from him, but I don't know what it'll say.
Yeah. Well, hey, I've heard worse. Yeah. By the way, I'm not sure what they were trying on the 21 cases, but 7 were the ones who survived it.
So did it say sarcoma? Did it say something like carcinosarcoma on your pathology? Because I think that's the weird part and the bad part.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to appear in the stroma. It doesn't usually appear in the stroma. It usually appears in the, which is a connective tissue.
Yeah. As I said, it was surrounding with it. And that seemed, from what I've read, seems to have some significance to it.
Yeah, I mentioned this partly for Rick's benefit, that, you know, we should play up that as well as the foamy gland.
Yeah.
Or at least as much as.
By the way, I also found a study, the Chinese, it's basically their National Science Foundation, found 58 cases, and primarily in the United States where it's reported. But if you're used to dealing with their literature, they have a tendency to do very good, I'll call them book reports on areas of research.
So let me just follow up with Ben. Ben, you're saying that what we should be stressing is that this is a sarcoma?
I mean, that's what it sounded like.
Yeah,
We had someone on the call that
the description from the pathology is unique variant of high-grade foamy gland prostatic adenosarcoma with dysponic stroma. And I killed the pronunciation. But that's
Okay.
what was on the bottom line on the pathology.
Okay, hold on a minute, because I want to just make a note. Adenosarcoma with what?
Desoplastic stroma.
With desoplastic stroma. Sounds like our man Mr. Nathanson was right on the money. He's gonna do a blog post on this. Okay. I will I've got it. Okay, I got it. I'll send it and I'll ask him if he's got any indication. He can give any indication at all. Louis, my man, we're still in our prostate cancer meeting. Come back in half an hour. 5:30. Sorry, I got our multiple sclerosis guys jumping the gun here. Okay.
All right, so we're going to wrap tonight's session up with Jim Barnes. Go ahead, Jim.
Hey guys, thanks. Just gonna record the recording of this recorded call. Anyway, hey, I've been to the my GU oncologist recently for CT scans and bone scan, and most recently a PSMA scan. And the I had a little bit about, and I am scheduled to start docetaxel on July 8th. So that's my next step. I've been on ADT for about 22 months. Probably 16 of those months I was on enzalutamide. Chose to go with that first because I had some previous cardiomyopathy where my ejection fraction was down to 10. And so had a pacemaker installed and everything was all due to AFib. And so then I went on the Abiraterone. The thing about enzalutamide was my PSA stayed very low, undetectable, very low levels. And when I switched to Abiraterone, while the side effects were a hell of a lot less, my PSA has started to rise. My PSA has risen to a 2.9. So we're back to the PSMA that I just had. I've got the bone scan and CT scans confirmed that I had lesions, cancer in my hip bone, down in a pubis ramus, down at the very bottom of the pelvic girdle, and that appears to be intensifying and spreading down in that area. The PSMA, even though the reader said he saw a nodule in the lung, the doctor, my GU oncologist said he didn't see it in the, as far as his examination of the scans. That's just kind of an interesting side note, and he was going to ask for more comment from the reader. But anyway, I'm starting docetaxel here in next week, at the end of next week, and I've heard a lot of things thrown around here. Some people talk about immunotherapy, like a Provenge or something like that, before you go to chemotherapy, or I think the reason why my doctor wants to take me to docetaxel is because he wants to get me to a lutetium sooner than later. And when I asked him about the immunotherapy, before the chemotherapy, he said he'd like to save the immunotherapy till later, till after, for something to keep our powder dry for after the lutetium sort of thing. So I'm just kind of throwing out there an update, and just wanted to invite anybody's comments or thoughts, or any questions you might have regarding my situation.
So Jim, I think there's maybe a there's possibly a I don't want to say misunderstanding, but the difference between the immune therapy that he's talking about and the immune therapy that you're talking about are significant. So Provenge is not like pembrolizumab. It's something that's given much, much earlier in the disease cycle. And the sooner you get that under your belt, we know the better that it is. Okay? I mean, it is definitely a treatment that I would do.
The docetaxel or the immunotherapy?
The Provenge.
Okay.
Okay, now Provenge is an immunotherapy treatment, but it's not the same type of immunotherapy treatment as what we were talking about before with Pat Martin and Mark Horn. And so, you know, it takes 4 weeks. It's worth getting it under your belt. Probably I would do it before the docetaxel than after the docetaxel. There are some people that like to give Provenge with a little bit of radiation, if there's anything that you can radiate, because they feel that there is a abscopal effect and it makes it more effective. And so I would be saying, Doc, you know, why can't I just do the Provenge now? And then we'll do the chemo. I understand why he's doing the chemo. I figured that's why he was doing the chemo. He wants to set you up so that you can access the Pluvicto or another radionuclide treatment. But I personally think that Provenge, if it were me, I'd be doing Provenge if I could, because I don't see a downside to it. It's not going to make a lot of difference.
Is that because of the side effects or the effectiveness of the?
Well, I mean, we know, and the research shows that it improves overall survival. But we don't see it necessarily in your markers. But we know in the long run, I mean, we've looked at the research. I mean, Herb and Len have looked more at the research than I have. We attended a session when they talked about it. We will at some point try and get a session going here for them to talk more about it. But, you know, and I guess the other thing, and it's my own bias, I think that the guy that came up with Provenge is probably the best GU medical oncologist in the country. If I had to pick one single medical oncologist for me, God forbid I needed one, that's who it would be. And I think it makes a difference. The problem is a lot of the docs don't particularly like it because they say it doesn't have, they don't see where it makes a difference. They can't see where it makes a difference. Can I just say, by the way, we've got 2 people who just joined us. If you're looking for the multiple sclerosis group, it starts at 5:30. We're still in a prostate cancer group. You're welcome to stay, but this is the prostate cancer group that you're in right now. So to come back, Jim, I would push, if it were me, I would push for Provenge, and we can throw that out to some of the other guys that are here right now. It takes 4 weeks to do it. It's 3 sessions over 4 weeks at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end. And you know, it's a chicken soup. It's what I call a chicken soup treatment. It may well help, and it certainly can't hurt. And we can explain what it does and how it works, but I would get it done. That's not the type of immunotherapy that, you know, it's not a keep your powder dry immunotherapy. Why? Because we know that the earlier you get it, the better you are with Provenge. As Larry likes to say, the longer the landing strip, the better you are.
So, Jim, you have only bone mets except for that possible lung nodule?
Correct. The reader noted on the scan, but my GU oncologist couldn't see it. He said, "I don't see it anywhere. I have to ask him for additional comment on that," and I haven't heard back on that.
So the Provenge could hinge on that because it's not approved for visceral mets. It's only approved for bone mets.
Oh,
Good
Are you
point.
sure about that, Ben?
Yeah.
I thought it was just for any metastatic prostate cancer. Castrate has to be castrate resistant.
I'll look it up in the remaining minutes of the call.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you're not, I thought you were reading from that. I think Len's right. It's for metastatic because it basically stimulates the dendritic cells, which somehow or other pull in the T cells. I've never really quite understood.
I'm not saying it hasn't been used that way, and I'm not saying that it won't be effective that way. I'm just talking about approvals.
Yeah, I've not heard that it's not available for. But look,
But anyway,
it's something that.
If you talk to your doctor about, don't call it immunotherapy, just use the term Provenge.
Okay, Sipulusal T. Provenge is the Sipulusal T is the generic name. Provenge is the is the commercial name, and it is approved. You're on Medicare now, aren't you, Jim? You got it early.
no, I have private insurance.
Okay, well, you need to check if they'll cover it, but it is Medicare covered, so the chances are it will be covered.
Okay. And that's part of my fear behind the inner workings of all these hospital systems is, what the insurance companies will pay for, and is docetaxel a cheapest approach versus some of these other ones, these other approaches.
It is. Docetaxel, I mean, Provenge is 100 grand treatment. But it should be approved. I mean, I'm pretty certain it's going to be approved, and Appelman has to go to bat for you.
Okay.
Okay, but the bigger issue is that if he may be one of these guys that doesn't believe in Provenge. I mean, Memorial Sloan Kettering, as Larry Fish will tell you, it's very hard to get Provenge. They don't do it. They don't like to do it. I never have really understood why. I mean, if Appelman has specific questions that he wants to ask Larry Fong, we'd be happy to connect him to Larry.
And that's the creator of Provenge?
Yeah, he's a GU Med Onc at UCSF.
Okay.
Okay, and he's in the immuno-oncology group there, which is funded by, I forget who it is now, but it's a big funding. The Parker Institute. It's part of the Parker Institute. And if you want to learn more about Provenge, watch Larry Fong. We've got 2 webinars. Just put Fong in the search box on our website, and there's one from I think 2 years ago and one from 3 years ago.
So does Provenge shrink tumors or lower PSA?
No.
I mean that's the whole objective, right?
It doesn't shrink tumors and it doesn't lower PSA. And that's why the docs are reluctant to use it. What does it do? So you're saying, well, what the heck does it do?
What the hell does it do?
I thought you'd never ask. It constrains the tumors. It rings them. And it stops them from growing and stops them from spreading. It constrains the tumors. The way that it works, it constrains the tumors. Now, it may kill the tumors as well. Len or Ben could tell you that. I don't really understand it. But what I know and I understand it to do is it basically rings your tumors, rings them in so they can't go anywhere. That's why it doesn't reduce the PSA. But they're constricted. They're constrained.
So will PSA still rise with
Will PSA still rise with Provenge?
Yes.
Yes, but it rises more slowly and it extends overall survival.
Okay.
That's what the
Long-term
research
follow-up,
tells.
Jim? Long-term follow-up has shown that it extends patients' lives up to 2 years beyond those patients who didn't get Provenge, and it works best the lower your PSA is to begin with.
Okay.
What did you say your PSA was now? 2?
It's really, it went from undetectable and it creeped up. Now it's a 2.9. Is that
Yeah,
low?
this
Is that high? Or
no, that's low. That's low. That's a good point.
It's a great point. It's a great point. You know, it's a great point. MSers, you're here too early. We'll be back. Come back in 10 minutes.
So I want to jump in and apologize. I was completely wrong looking at the Provenge site, and I was just wrong. Sorry.
Okay. So, but this is a great conversation, Jim, because the conversation we're having is why a lot of the medical oncologists won't prescribe Provenge, because they don't get it. And, you know, and Dr. Appman will say, well, it doesn't really, it's never been shown to do anything. Well, it has now. As Len said, it extends overall survival. We knew when Larry got this patent, when he got it FDA approved in 2010, it was the very first immunotherapy of any, I think, of any type, but and certainly for prostate cancer. But when he got it done, we knew it didn't constrain and keep PSA down. We knew it. But, you know, I'll repeat the story I've told many times on this site, which is that when they were testing it in 2009, they tested it on men who had localized prostate cancer that were going to do a radical prostatectomy. And they gave them the Provenge. And when they removed the prostate and they sliced up the prostate afterwards to do the pathology, what they could see is that the dendritic cells had literally ringed the tumor. They were surrounding the tumor. Now you're taking a cross section, of course. I mean, you're taking basically a 2D cross section. But what they could see is around the tumor were these dendritic cells, which is what it was always supposed to do. But the docs don't get that. And I remember being in a meeting at UCSF one time, and Larry had forgotten that. And I put my hand up and I reminded him, and he told the whole audience about, yeah, that's what we saw. That this is how it works. So you've got to lean on Appelman to say, I really want this treatment if I'm eligible for it and if my insurance is going to pay for it.
right. And Herb was also on Provenge. I think I heard.
Herb did he did Provenge right before he started Pluvicto. He didn't do it before chemo. But
He did not do Provenge before chemo. Is that what you just said? He did not do Provenge before chemo.
No, but if he could have done, I would have encouraged him to. You know, it's Len says, the earlier you get it, the better.
Okay.
And mention it to him because, Dr. E likes to do it, and other docs like to do it with a shot of radiation. And that is because they think that the radiation creates an abscopal effect with the dendritic cells, meaning it spreads the treatment wider when it's coming back in. It's like getting a twofer, right, Len? Do you want to? I didn't explain that very well. You could probably do it better.
What happened? The abscopal effect is, they believe, let's say the radiation kills the prostate cancer cells, and when the cell dissolves, it releases cancer antigens. So it kind of alerts the immune system, like, we've got to fight this wherever we see it. And so the immune system kicks in beyond where you were radiated, and it will attack cancer cells wherever they are. doesn't always happen. You don't always see the abscopal effect, but sometimes you do.
And for some reason that I'm not really clear of, but again, the brain's trust will help. That enhances the Provenge and this dendritic cell mechanism that's being stimulated with the Provenge.
Okay. If anybody has any particularly interesting links and educational links about that, if you throw them in the chat, that'd be helpful. I can always pick them up from the file in my documents.
Okay. The one I'm sure Len will do that if he's whatever he's looking at right now, but definitely listen to Larry talking about Provenge on our website. He did two. I think it was the last one that he did, but it's worth listening to both of them. But the last one that he did was talking about how it could be used not just for advanced cancer, but it can be used earlier in the disease cycle as well. You just type in Larry Fong and scroll down and you'll find 2 webinars.
Perfect.
Okay. I'm doing too many things. If I had the time right now, I'd do it for you and I'd pull them out.
No worries.
I'm juggling too many balls. Okay. And if you have a problem, you can write me, Jim. You know that.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate all you guys.
So, you know, and is the chemo a bad thing? No. I tell you what I might do before the chemo. If I was going to go through chemo, I might get a genomic analysis just to make sure that there's nothing targetable and they don't want to adjust the chemo. I mean, well, you know, we don't want you to go through chemo and then find, oh, this man's got a somatic mutation in the BRCA pathway. We should have added carboplatin, but we didn't do it. Well, that's why you got to get these NGS. So that's another thing to do before you start is say, yeah, I want to get updated. When was the last time you had next generation sequencing?
I believe I had that done at the beginning of this journey in September of 2019.
You got to get it updated, and if you don't have to do it with a, a tumor sample, with a hard sample. You can do it with a blood sample. There's pros and cons each way, but if we're talking about starting you on chemo, let's just make sure that there's nothing special there that might point to something different. I mean, the Appleman should be asking for this before he says, "Oh, let's go to docetaxel."
Maybe he knows. I'm hoping he knows that already. You know, I've given a lot of trust and credit to Dr. Appleman. So.
Okay.
I will ping him on that and you know, open up that conversation.
Okay.
That's really great feedback, guys. Thank you.
Okay, guys, I got to shut the room. Sorry, we got to close the room, stop this recording because now with 10 minutes before